Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 228.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right. Guess what? You got me today. So hopefully you're good with that because, well, that's just what it's going to be. It's just going to be me and you. And here's what we did. I went into we have a private Facebook group for those of you who are cash flow creators and members. Excellent. Glad that you are here and still listening. So I asked them, some of the topics that they would like to hear in terms of a podcast or an episode, etc. And boy, did I ever get a ton of responses. And so what we're going to begin to do is we're going to begin to take some of these down. Obviously, we won't be doing all of them. I do believe, though, one of the ones that came up a lot was creative financing and that type of thing. So we'll probably actually just turn that into a webinar for all the members or something. I'm not really sure yet, but that's kind of where I'm headed with that. And but I want everybody to know that I'm trying to just fulfill on that promise of, at least if you're gonna ask the question, be willing to answer it, and in terms of, in this case, actually produce the podcast episodes that you guys are requesting. So what does that mean? Maybe some of you're listening for the 101st time. I don't know. I do know that we've gotten a whole bunch of new people recently, and that's awesome. And I'm glad that you guys are here. But shoot us an email, info@cashflowdiary.com. If there's a topic or a subject or something you want to know that maybe we haven't covered in the 200 episodes so far, I'm open to it. Maybe you want to cover it again. What have you learned since the last time such and such happened? All of those things are totally there. And, so the funny thing is, some of the things that came back, though, were just absolutely, I reserve the right to absolutely not talk about that particular subject. For example, the very first response when I asked the people, what would your top three? So I simply asked them, if you could hear a podcast episode on any topic, what would your top three choices of topics be? And I wish I was joking, but the very, very first response came from Eli, and he said, the new Starbucks holiday cups. I'm like, really? I don't think so. Anyway, you guys know that's not what we're going to be talking about. So what are we going to be talking about? Well, quite simply, it's something that I think is very, very common, and it's hyper common in the real estate space, and it has a lot to do, and it affects everybody at every levels. And it's not just for the new guy; it's for every person. If you've ever considered business ownership or real estate investing in any way, shape, or form, I'm of course speaking of simply overcoming limiting beliefs. Here's the interesting thing: you want to know how to quote unquote do real estate. Here's what you do. You pick a piece of property, you write an offer, you then open escrow after the seller accepts your offer, you then pay for it. Done. That is really the steps. Now, there's wisdom in understanding more business concepts, but that's really the steps. The nuances of all of those things, don't remove the fact that those are the steps. That's what you're going to go through regardless of the type of real estate that you're going to buy. Here's my point. The challenge with completing those steps is you may have some limiting beliefs in the way, some things that you are holding on to that are in the way of you keeping it, letting it be simple and keeping it that way. So my goal with this particular episode, I have no idea how long it's going to go. I think it's going to be a short one, but it could be a long one. Who knows? Is to help you with the way that I see limiting beliefs and hopefully give you some ammunition, something that will help you see something differently, that'll help you write another offer or pick up the phone one more time or actually ask for what you want at the end of the day, which could result in you getting a deal. In fact, we recently got an email to the office. Hey, Patrick, I'm glad that you're out there. But we got the email. There was a guy at one of the events that I was recently at, and I don't know what I said, but he's like something that I said helped him in a few days' time get a property to the contract stage. I was like, awesome, that's good stuff. My guess is it was something that he was believing, and he then came to a different level of belief about something, took an appropriate action, and then made it, and then it happened. And that's really what it comes down to. So for those of you wanting the episode on Starbucks cups, I'm sorry, this is not it. We're going to just give you a little bit of training on how to overcome limiting beliefs. So in order to do that, one of the first things I think we should do is come up with a definition. So I was just looking online, and a definition that I'm kind of like, all right, that's good enough, is limiting beliefs refer to the thoughts and or stories you tell yourself that do not support you living in your authentic power. Limiting beliefs impact the choices you make and how you behave in any given situation. I'm like, yep, that pretty much sums it up right there. That's very, very true for a lot of us. The question you may be asking yourself is, Jay, why on earth is any of this important? Why does it matter? Well, you may not have realized this yet, but I'm going to share something with you. Now, the information I'm about to share with you actually comes from one of the courses that we have inside the membership. It's Cashflow Foundations. It's technically video number 2 in that 18 video series. So it's an 18 video series, Cashflow Foundations. And I talk about the process of manifestation. So it's a 7-step process. And here's the thing. Many of us, we all are looking to achieve something, be known for something, be of some sort of significance in some way, shape, or form. And there's an actual process to making that happen. So here's the process. If you sow a thought, you reap a feeling. When you sow a feeling, it then solidifies eventually into a belief. Beliefs that are repeated become actions, and actions that are continued become habits, and habits help you to form the character, and that character, gets you over to a destiny. So again, sow a thought, reap a feeling. Sow some feelings, reap a belief. Sow some beliefs, reap an action. Sow an action, reap habits. Sow habits, reap a character. So a character, reap a destiny. That's just really how it goes. And we've got to think about then the repeated thoughts that are happening, because those repeated thoughts are the seeds of familiar feelings which give birth to what you absolutely know to be true. And that's where we have the crux of things, is what you absolutely know to be true. Now, we as humans, myself included, we're loath to challenge what we already know to be true, even if, and this is the funny part, even if we have absolutely no evidence to support what actually isn't true. It doesn't really matter that it may not be true, especially if we think we already know. And, one of the popular examples happens is, and again, I've just got real estate examples because this is, what I do a lot. What happens oftentimes is, someone who is a licensed agent. Now, again, I know I'm assuming some of you out there are licensed agents. I'm not talking necessarily about you, but I just want you to think about this. I've had many licensed agents tell me what can't be done, or worse, when I'm doing one of my private coaching clients, they tell them, no one is going to give you seller financing, or no one is going to do X, Y, or Z. No one's going to do this if you don't have this, or you can't write an offer if you don't have proof of funds, or you can't all of these things. Well, okay. I'm not saying that that's not true for them or their experience. I'm just saying it's not true. It's not a universal truth. You can't, not every one of the deals follows that path. Now, and we have to be aware that sometimes when we're working with someone, a vendor or someone in authority, or that we perceive or put in authority, we're now subject to their limiting beliefs as well. And they're putting them out there for you and I to go, yeah or no. And depending on who we've become, we may not be strong enough or willing to actually challenge that. But the key thing here, and in understanding the process of manifestation, is to ask yourself, what are your repeated thoughts? What do you believe to be true? So here's a small little exercise for you. I want you to fill in the blank. Ready? Money doesn't grow. It takes money to make. I can't do real estate because I don't have those answers are some of your limiting beliefs. Here's some more. If I just had blank, then I could blank. What have you ever said? If I just had the money, then I could blank. If I was just blank, I think you're getting my point. Or here's a popular one, because I've heard it in many different forms. I'm too young to do real estate. No one's going to believe me. I've also heard I'm too old to do real estate. It's too late for me. And, you guys know, I've said all kinds of things. I have said to myself, I can remember back when I was first beginning, I'm too black. I'm too African American to do real estate. I didn't have, and you don't see the popular examples on TV. And if you hold that limiting belief, as in wealth is for someone other than you because of your race, because of your height, because of whatever, that's on you after listening to this. Here's another popular one, and depending on when you're listening to this, it'll be interesting for you. Here's the words that many have said. I have to go to work. Do you really have to? Because usually when we're saying that as if there is no choice. Like, I have no choice but to go to work. Really? Last time I checked, you were employed voluntarily. You can choose to not go. You can choose to make that change at any time. I think it's interesting. And here are some other popular ones that we've often heard from other people, and I know I heard a lot. And most of these that I'm going to submit to you are ones that I heard, and then after my first transaction, my very first transaction was 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. We were squatting in bank-owned property at the time I bought it, so my credit was not the best, and it just began breaking down everything I quote-unquote knew to be true. Everything I was always told about, specifically about real estate and what you could and couldn't do, was being shattered right before my eyes. See, have you ever heard that you can't do, or no one's going to accept a $10 earnest deposit? Okay. I've done deals with absolutely no earnest money that closed, mind you, because it wasn't that important. Or one of the popular ones, and again, this happens a lot, especially with some of my higher level coaching clients, is the realtors they're working with tell them you can't get seller financing. You've got to have X, Y, and Z. You have to have 30% down to get seller financing. No one is going to do it. And because they're in a position of authority, i.e. have a license, oftentimes we can take their limiting beliefs and we choose to make them our own without any evidence, just their word. You can't buy, you can't buy apartments with none of your own money or credit. Okay. You can't buy real estate with a bad credit score. Guys, I started with a credit score of 398. Did you know it went that low? I'm not saying go find out. I'm just letting you know. You can't grow a team without money to pay them. This happens a lot when I tell people you gotta go get people to help you with your vision. Well, I don't have any money to pay them. I didn't say that you had to have money to pay them right now. And even if you do have to pay someone, let's just make up a number real fast. Let's just say you have to pay someone something outrageous, something that would be a lot. Let's call it $100,000. You got to put somebody on your payroll for $100,000 a year. You do realize that they come with a 12-month financing plan, right? I think that's interesting. It's not like you got to have $100,000 tomorrow. They come with a 12-month financing plan. It's already prearranged. They're used to it. They're expecting a financing plan. They're not expecting to get all of the money up front right now. It's not even in the cards. So just think about that, right? I've often heard you can't do that to writing an offer at something other than list price, or should I say drastically below list price. I often ignore list price. I just write the offer based upon, what do I plan on doing with this particular property? What are we going to turn it into? What is it worth to me? Because it's really the only reason, the only person's money that matters is mine, because I'm the one paying for it or selling it or whatever. Does that make sense? I hope so. So next time you see list price, no one says you have to write the offer at list price. Well, they might not accept it. Okay, they might not. Is that the last house on the planet? Really? I don't think so. This one came up when we were doing our raising private capital and capital creators courses. And in the mastermind, many people kept saying, investors just want the highest interest rate. So just show me how to pay them the highest interest rate. That's what they want. And I'm like, no, people have other motivations other than just interest rate. And they're wide, they're varied. There isn't a checklist, and people are always asking for that. Give me the 12-step shortest method that's going to guarantee I get the money. Well, it's called build a relationship, which by definition means it's not always as cut and dry, and you actually have to learn additional skills. Probably one of the most dangerous things that happens at this stage in your business or in any business or in your personal growth. There's the three most dangerous words. I already know that. I know that. See, by saying I know that without any actual experience. For example, people tell me all the time that they know real estate investing. Okay, cool. Well, have you closed the deal? No, but I know. No, you don't know. To know and not do is to not know. Go do. Then you know. And until then, you got some ideas, but you don't really know, right? And that's the thing. I want to give you that ability to go out there and go find out, because that's the only time you're ever going to really know, right? There was I think it was a quote in the Matrix. The character Seraph said that you don't know someone until you fight them. And you know what? You probably don't. So that doesn't mean go get in a fight with your spouse or anything, but you get my point. When you think about it, those phrases, or a phrase that you may have heard, is whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. Sounds like that one's kind of true. Because based upon what you believe, again, remember, according to the process of manifestation, what you believe is exactly what you're going to act out and do. So what does that mean? That means if I believe it takes money to make money and I have no money, then I'm just going to, I can't make money. So I'm not, my brain isn't even open to the thoughts of how. And that's a problem. If I believe I already know something, would I endeavor to learn more about that something? No, because I already know, despite the fact that I haven't done. If I thought that the only way to buy property was to have 30% down, and I knew I didn't have 30% down, would I write an offer? The answer is no, I wouldn't. Because this is how you can tell what people, anyone believes by what they do. Do they believe? And if they do, then they're acting in accordance with those beliefs in various different ways. Here's the interesting thing. These limiting beliefs, do you know who the person who is most guilty of repeating these thoughts to you? Yeah, that's right. It's you. We are the most guilty culprit in our own demise in some way, shape, or form. And I find that interesting. It's not your mom. It's not your dad. It's not your ex-husband, teacher, your coach. Now, I'm not excusing anything that any of those individuals may or may not have done. They may have planted the seed. Absolutely. Guaranteed. Maybe they planted the seed. But you and I we're guilty of watering it. A lot. A lot more than we should have. Ever. And now, our future, our finances, our family, our friends, our viewpoint of life is paying the cost. And that's the interesting thing. Going out there to acquire real estate or build your business and create cash flow and serve people, it's being willing to solve a problem and find a way to do what usually most other people say is impossible. Or at least they're saying it's impossible for you, i.e. the version of you that's standing in front of them. They can't see you doing it. So therefore, you can't do that. Period. And, it's up to you to choose. Are they right? Do you want them to be right? I'm not saying they aren't. I'm just saying, do you want them to? If your answer is yeah, I'm okay with their vision for me, then all right, cool. But if you're not, I got a solution. See, you must become responsible for your state of mind. What do I mean by that? Well, quite simply, question what you know, what you think you are sure of. Those things that you're like, this is irrefutable because I know. Okay. Well, question what you know by asking questions like, if it were possible to blank, what would that look like? If it were possible to blank, who would I need to become in order to receive the benefits of blank? If it were possible to blank, who do I know that has already done blank? And what value could I bring to that person so that they could help me do blank? If it were possible to blank, what additional skills would be required to blank? See, feeling in just those simple blanks that I just gave you will begin to put you on a completely different path on something that you previously thought was, well, impossible just 20 minutes ago when you and I started talking about this very subject. If you're brave enough to actually fill in those blanks, you might begin to open up a new world of possibility, a new world that's always been available for you, but now you're stepping into it. It's going to be a little scary, and that's okay. Here's the thing, though. Those are the thoughts that you should be repeating. The answers to those questions. And that takes intentionality. It's not just going to magically happen. You've got to do work in order to be consciously thinking. And there is no greater work that man shrinks from than actually thinking. See, you think you're thinking. No, we're often just reminiscing, ruminating on thoughts that have been suggested to us. We're not being intentional about it. Look, many of you come from different backgrounds. If you've been here and if you've listened this long, you know that I clearly believe in the God of the Bible. You know, the one I believe who created everything. You realize that even he had to repeat himself many times on this subject to those who follow him, and be very clear about words and saying things. I love you. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. It wasn't just once that it had to be stated. He had to repeat it a lot to get his point across. So here's what I'm going to say to you. Cut yourself some slack. Now, get to work. Until next time.